Tommy Robinson has always cared about women's rights. I think that's why he's supporting the protests in Iran.
What you're seeing now is a revolution happening in Iran. And it's a revolution happening by people who don't want to be enslaved by Islam. And right now, they need that wanker in charge of our country. I personally think we should be blowing the shit out of everything that Ayatollah holds. His military bases, everything. He needs to be hit now while the people are rising up.
Okay, that's his view. Let's get a slightly more nuanced take on the whole thing. Professor Jeffrey Sachs.
Just about the only thing that threatens the United States is our own behavior. So, of course, we don't need a budget of $1.5 trillion, especially because our government does nothing but hemorrhage debt, and we have a fiscal crisis. Aside from that, we don't need more wars. We have a president of the United States that threatens a new country every day, and this has to stop if we're going to survive. We're just on a completely reckless, dangerous, provocative path right now, the likes of which we've never seen. We've never had a foul-mouthed president who views himself as above the Constitution, above the domestic law, who dismisses any idea of international law, and who thinks that he reigns over the world and is determined to do so with the vast military spending and rampant use of the military. The United States has bombed 7 countries in the past year, getting to be a habit.
7 countries in the last year. Can you name them all? Absolutely ridiculous. What's happening elsewhere?
It's becoming increasingly clear that law enforcement has become more militarized, treating the people they're supposed to serve and protect.
This must be footage from Iran, I think.
Is that since the 90s and especially after
where the police attack protesters.
The FBI, CIA, and immigration officials have been trained by Israeli agents.
These exchange programs are exacerbating the violence in both places and lifting up the Israeli occupation as a global gold standard for policing.
Right, so the police in America using violence against their own people, trained in
enshrined
Israel.
a nationalist policy of Jewish Israeli supremacy at the expense of the native Palestinian population.
I think we know all about that. What about the new pope? The previous pope was very outspoken during the situation in Gaza. He was praying every day for an end to the atrocities in Gaza. What about Pope Leo, the American pope?
At the same time, we see this in the Holy Land, where despite the truce announced in October...
The Holy Land, that's the diplomatic way of referring to it, isn't it? The Holy Land.
The civilian population continues to endure a serious humanitarian crisis, adding further suffering to that already experienced. The Holy See is especially attentive to any diplomatic initiative that seeks to guarantee to the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip a future of lasting peace and justice in their own land.
So he had the courage to say the name. He said Palestine, or he said the Palestinians living in the Gaza Strip.
As well as to the entire Palestinian...
Are they not the Holy Landians, the people from the Holy Land?
Palestinian people and the entire Israeli people. In particular, the two-state solution remains the institutional perspective for meeting the legitimate aspirations for both peoples. Yet sadly, there has been an increase in violence in the West Bank against the Palestinian civilian population, which has the right to live in peace in its own land.
Okay, he's saying the right thing. Is he saying enough? He's mentioning the West Bank, not just Gaza. Here he is. Shall we hear from Bibi? If we have to. He's being interrogated here.
There is a huge battle today between the forces of civilization, the forces of modernity, and the very fanatic forces who want to take us back to the early Middle Ages, and do so with a violence that is unimaginable. You've seen these pictures of people cutting open the chest of an enemy, these Islamists, tearing out the heart. The person is still alive and eating the heart. That tells you something. Now, that mentality, that fanaticism has to be confronted. It will move and invade your countries, and it will destroy them. Israel is not just fighting our battle, it's fighting the battle against radical Islam that threatens the future of the world. And I think many people thought communism would threaten the world, or China would threaten the world. I'm saying that this untethered force of an extremist ideology that knows no limits, if it has nuclear weapons, the ballistic missiles to deliver them, and the masses that will destroy democracies, burn Christians.
Prime Minister,
we're committed to defending Christians around the world and in the Middle East. If they win the day, we all lose. Israel is defending itself, but in so doing, we're defending Western civilization.
Prime Minister, that is one way of viewing the world, and I have some sympathy with some of what you've said. Let me give you another way, which is that many people around the world see the state of Israel as a country that is exclusively using military force, that has killed 70,000 people in Gaza, that is doing nothing to create a sustainable future for people there. That is a country, you've been accused of being a war criminal. If you went to go to several countries in Europe, you're going to get arrested. This is not just mad campus radicalism. This is a feeling around the world. You said it yourself to us just now. In public opinion around the world, Israel is doing very poorly. And it's doing very poorly because people see a country that is behaving in a way that is not compatible with being a liberal democracy. And therefore, I think you have a problem. I think that loss of public opinion, what struck me from your autobiography was how subtly and for how long you have understood this. You know that political power comes from public opinion, and you know that you need to win the battle of public opinion, and you're losing it. You've absolutely lost it in Europe, but much more worryingly for you, you're losing it in America. And I think that what you've just told me about fanaticism is true in part, but it is not going to shape public opinion. People are going to roll their eyes and say, he's saying that anybody who says anything critical about Israel is anti-Semitic. He's giving this large, this story about fanaticism, and he's not accepting the fact that Israel is behaving in a way that we think is incompatible with the kind of liberal democracy that he claims.
Well, the liberal democracy.
The fanaticism that he was talking about, and he mentioned someone, he saw it on camera, you saw people ripping out the heart and eating it. The only time I've seen that recently, or in the last few years, was among the Syrian rebels. And I think it was the liver, not the heart. We've mentioned this before. And this guy, his government, were actually assisting the opposition, as they were at the time, against Bashar al-Assad. And when injured rebel fighters were in the Golan Heights, Israel would patch them back up and send them back out onto the battlefield. And he said it himself, he wanted to take credit for assisting in the overthrow of the Syrian regime. So it's interesting that he mentions the Islamic fanaticism, but he's willing to help some Islamic fanatics, but wanting to draw sympathy when Islamic fanatics from the Gaza Strip attack him. And of course he's mentioning Christians in Israel is always supporting Christians. We're going to hear a Christian Zionist in a minute. If you wonder why Israel has so many supporters from the evangelical Christian community, this gentleman might shed some light on that fact. There's more Christian Zionists in the world than there are Jewish Zionists. That's just a numbers game. Because there's so many more Christians, I suppose. 2 billion people. Let's have a listen.
The Bible proves that the Jewish people are the most unique people on the face of the earth. They are a chosen people. They are a covenant.
The most unique. Are we not all unique? How can you be the most unique people in the world? Interesting.
People. They are a cherished people. They are the apple of God's eye. The unchallengeable fact of the Bible is that Israel and the Jewish people are unique. Listen, Israel did not choose this uniqueness. God chose it for them. Listen to David's prayer in 1 Chronicles 17:20. It's one of the most powerful words in the scripture. O Lord, there is none like you, nor is there any God beside you. And who is like your people Israel? Listen, the one nation on the earth whom God went to redeem for himself as a people. Chosen and still cherished. Deuteronomy 7:6, for you, Israel, are a chosen people, a holy people to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a people for himself. Listen to this next sentence. A special treasure above all the people on the face of the earth. That includes the United States of America.
Israel first. He's what we call an Israel firster. And what's in a name? Just because the name is the same, why is he assuming that the Israel founded in 1948, they weren't even sure what the name was going to be? Why is he so certain that Israel relates to when he sees Israel written in his Bible? I wonder. Around the time of the creation of the State of Israel, in fact, before the creation of the state, when there was the huge influx of Jewish refugees later, but before that, communities of people making Aliyah and going to live in the Holy Land, there were also Armenians fleeing to the Holy Land, fleeing persecution from the Ottoman Empire, the Armenian genocide. And Armenians have long been a persecuted people. So around the same time, with Jewish people arriving to the Holy Land, there were a lot of Armenian people arriving to the Holy Land, and their community is still there to this day. I've met them. We're going to hear from one of their descendants in a moment. Jamie Morris is saying, long live Israel, with a heart. Thank you, Jamie. Jamie, if you want to send us a voice note, the WhatsApp number is there. I'd love to play a voice note from you if you've got any insight or anything you'd like to share with us. Okay, let's hear from Anna Kasparian.
I hate the regime in Iran.
Right.
I hate the regime.
So why wouldn't you want it changing?
I hate the mullahs. There are Armenians living in Iran right now who hate the mullahs. Okay, but regime change should not be spurred by the United States and Israel, which wants to install a puppet government on their behalf. And by the way, the Iranians know that. They know that. Polling indicates the vast majority of them want regime change. They don't want it to be done by Israel. You have to be clear about that, because I think there's an intentional misframing or false framing of what's happening in Iran right now and what the population actually wants. Now, with that out of the way, my issue, Pierce, is that the United States has been expending its resources and has been essentially sending its soldiers to die in wars on behalf of Israel, a country that goaded us into invading Iraq on a false pretense of weapons of mass destruction. 4,000 of our soldiers died in Iraq. You didn't send a single IDF soldier. Not one IDF soldier was sent to Iraq. Our soldiers died on your behalf, Kunrikis, on your country's behalf.
Not at all.
And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. You guys are committing a genocide right now, yet you're you're a nuclear power that's not in the non-proliferation agreement. Why is that? How come you guys get to play by completely different rules? You're genocidal. You're disgusting. The world.
So, was the war in Iraq a war for Israel? Draw your own conclusion. People say that it was a war about oil, but did the oil price actually change at all after the war in Iraq? Let's hear from the Shah, the would-be Shah, the son of the Shah in exile. Let's have a listen to him. Your Majesty.
Are you actually saying then that Israel bombing your country, civilians in Iran being killed, is a positive thing?
I'm not saying that the targeting was meant to hurt the Iranian people. The targeting was meant to basically neutralize the regime threat. Clearly, I don't think that it was an intention of the Israeli government to attack Iranian civilians.
Yeah, there's a cheerleader for war, an Iranian outside his country who doesn't mind if Israel attack his country. Is that really patriotic? Or maybe he really thinks that the intention was to help the people when Israel attacked Iran. Let's have a look at footage from London. This is pretty good if you're a parkour fan, whether you agree with the politics or not. Nice bit of climbing here. Up he goes, without a harness, without a safety net. Where's the health and safety? Oh, don't fall. There we go. It's the Palestine flag. Oh no, it's the old Iran flag. Not the Islamic Republic. He's got all that way, you better get it down. There we go. Bah, bah, bah. Mashallah, mashallah. That's his moment. He's been training for it. It's like a dream come true. Okay, well done to that protester, making his voice heard. We had a couple of comments after the Long Live Israel. Albania is saying, we left the Ottoman Empire and we had the best generals in all the armies. Who's we in this context? Are you Albanian? I can't work it out. And then there's another question. Bobby Ver is saying, have you ever seen the Shah, the old interviews of the Shah before he was overthrown? Yes, where the guy says, Your Majesty, you're not saying that the Jewish lobby control America, are you? And he said, they control many things. They are very influential. So all these Israel supporting Shah supporters better acknowledge the fact that the previous Shah did make some anti-Semitic comments, to say the very least. Impressive climbing skills. Not so impressive flagpole skills. Yeah, the climbing, he thought he'd got the hard bit done when he climbed all the way up there. And then he had to get his flag out, unfurl the flag. All right, we'll have one more clip from Bibi then, if we must.
One way of putting pressure on Hamas is for the world's press to report what's really going on there and to give body to the things you've been saying about what they're doing. Why don't you allow international journalists into Gaza?
I think we do, but we could do more, and we probably
But
should.
not without being with the IDF.
Yeah, well, that's not an uncommon practice, but I can tell you one thing. First of all, we don't want any journalists killed, and some have been tragically killed because there's crossfire.
Could you say definitively that you will allow the international press in without the IDF?
I didn't say without the IDF, but we can have more numbers than you can see. I mean, it's so small. You can't really, it's not like
I've been there with the IDF. No. It is small, but it is the more important thing is to allow the press in independently. And if you really want to change the perception of Gaza, then it is not. There's a ceasefire now.
Yeah, but it's still a war zone. We just had
It's hard for me not to think that you have something that you want to hide when you won't let the press in.
No, it's not, but it's dangerous. We just had this now, today. We had rocket fire. A few days ago, we had sniper fire. That's yesterday, actually. I wouldn't be so cavalier about it. And the last thing I want to see is any of you or anyone else.
There have been a huge number of journalists.
Wow, was that a threat? That was a bit threatening, the way he said, you. We don't want to lose any journalists.
Killed in Gaza. So I don't think it's very easy for you to say that you are not concerned about people's lives.
Well, of course I am, because we didn't target them. Zani, we didn't target them. We don't kill journalists, and we don't jail them either, and we certainly don't execute them, as Hamas is doing, and some of the regimes that are criticizing us are doing. But I think that you're not going to hide anything. In fact, I hope you discover the truth. Go and see the number of trucks that are held up by Hamas.
Prime Minister, the minute you let journalists in independently, I will go back to Gaza. I've been with the IDF. I don't want to do that again. I will go independently the minute you let people in.
I'll consider
it. Well, he's looking older, isn't he, Bibi? He's been around a long time now. Maybe we just need to let this generation die out, and there'll be hope for peace in the future when some new blood comes through. In the chat, so Albania, are you Albanian? Is that what that means? And Albania were under the Ottoman Empire. Albania, a majority Muslim country, but from what I gather, it's very secular. And was it not officially a secular country when it became a state? So maybe did Albania gain their independence from the Ottoman Empire? Someone will have to inform me. Albania is saying yes. Okay, sounds like we're on to something there. And I know one of the religious orders from Albania are the Bektashi Muslims. Albania, I don't know if you know anything more about that. I think it's a Sufi order, the Bektashi. I will have to find out more about that someday. Apple Tree is saying devil's eyes he has. Yes, if eyes are the window to the soul, do you think those look like devil's eyes? I think he's looking older, isn't he? He's been a murderer for too long. Yeah, you don't know history. Well, I can't know it all, Apple Tree. What happened in 1441? Is that why your name's Apple Tree 1441? We only learn about the Victorians and the Tudors and the Romans. That's about all we learn in UK schools. But we're saying a lot of Albanians are leaving for England, France, Germany, etc. Are they? A lot are leaving? I thought they were here already. Are there any Albanians left in Albania? Are they coming to join? The more the merrier, I say. Very welcome. And of course, Kosovo is an independent country now. And the majority there now are ethnic Albanians. Bobby Vera saying, you're right. Thank you very much. That's okay, but once you are willing to learn, okay, and Albania is saying, no, you Jews can go live there. Where are you talking about, Albania, and which Jewish people are you referring to? Not sure what you mean by that. Hope we're not being hateful. Definitely not. We don't do hate on this channel. We're all about love on L4L and respectfully disagreeing with people when we need to do so. What we were saying is Albania turning more Christian because of all the people leaving. There are Albanian Christians as well, and anyone I've spoken to says that the Christians and the Albanians, the Christians and the Muslims in Albania tend to get along. There doesn't seem to be tension between them, even though in the past there was tension between the Christian Serbs and the Albanians, obviously. Albania is saying, go live in Albania because we're leaving it. All right, are we doing some kind of a population exchange? I would love to visit Albania. I'm sure it's a fascinating country, and the language is, I believe, very unique. It's not a Slavic language, from what I understand, unlike Serbian, Croatian, and Bosnian, which are all pretty much dialects of the same language. They would be the languages in the surrounding area, but Albanian is pretty unique. Bobby Vera saying they have the alphabet like us, not Arabic. Yeah, it would be Western script, I suppose, or maybe Cyrillic script. Is it the same as the Russian script? Pray and support from France for my Palestinian brothers having to deal with this effing country for 80 years. Thank you, Swan. Appreciate your input there. It's a long time, and the original founders of the state, I believe, said the old will die and the young will forget. Eventually, enough time will go by that people will just drop this, and the hope of returning home, the right of return to go back where the refugees were kicked out from, will fade away, and people will accept it and will just go and be elsewhere. There's even talk of sending people from Gaza to Somaliland now that it's been recognized. Is it the hope that these people would just go away and be Egyptian, be Jordanian, be anything but be Palestinian? And then there's always the argument about Palestinian doesn't exist. There's no difference between a Palestinian and a Jordanian and a Lebanese. What was the difference between a German and an Austrian? They're two people in Europe, Christians that speak the same language. But it doesn't mean you can kick one out of one place and force them to go and live in another. Where you live is where you live. Where you're from is where you're from. Nobody should kick you out. Nobody should be living as a superior to another. Not in the 21st century. Not after we've had the First World War, the Second World War, and the UN Charter and the human rights and all the mistakes of the past. Shouldn't we have learned from that? And the people that say never again, shouldn't it be never again for everyone? Never again will we push people out of the land that they're from. Apple Tree is saying, why did you skip my comment? Sorry, Apple Tree, I'll go back and try and find it. There's your comment. Is that your comment? That's okay. You're willing to learn. You don't know history. That was another comment. You also put a smiley laughing face. Is there any other comment of yours that I haven't read out loud on the live? Would you like to phone me up? Would you like to? It's possible that YouTube has deleted a comment. Sometimes if you put a comment with swearing, the AI will delete it itself. I tend not to censor anything. I'm very strong on freedom of speech, but sometimes if there's swearing, the algorithm will, or the AI, whatever it is, will take it out. And Apple Tree is acknowledging that it was YouTube that did it. Yeah, you see, it wasn't me. Bobby Vera is saying, newspapers say 1 in 50 Albanians in the UK are in prison. Maybe 1 in 50. What's that as a percent? 2%. Quick maths. We've got another comment. This is from... we've got someone else. Newcomer. This is Temujin Khan. Look at the amount of land taken by Russia. And they speak the same language. What amount of land taken by Russia are you talking about? I mean, you mentioned the language. The parts of Ukraine where the people speak Russian and the people there consider themselves ethnic Russian, those would be the parts that Russia, for the most part, that Russia have taken, if that's what you're talking about. And the border between Russia and Ukraine has moved and changed a lot over the years. So it's kind of a murky one, that, having been in Ukraine and met people in the West very much of a Ukrainian nationalist separatist identity, and having met people further south and to the east who would be ethnic Russian but comfortable with their Ukrainian citizenship. Identity in Ukraine is interesting, but of course no one deserves to die in a war because Russia or anyone else is taking the land. Netanyahu, this is a comment from Albania. Netanyahu started the war one day after he was telling the people of Israel how Palestinians are making more children than Israel. Then the attack happened directly, your children. Well, Israel has always worried about the so-called demographic threat that one day the Arabs would outnumber the Jews in the land, and you can't have a democratic state and a Jewish state if the majority of people in the state aren't Jewish. Albania, nothing begin on the 7th of October. Yeah, we probably agree on that one. And Apple Tree said, I don't use vulgar language, but do say truth about history. Okay, give me some truth. And if anyone wants to send a voice note, the number is there. And Temujin Khan saying they both have family on both sides. Correct. J. Dickelman saying Ukraine is a different language than Russian. Than Russian. Yeah, Ukrainian is a different language. Similar, they're both Slavic languages and related to each other, but they are different languages, and that's part of the identity, isn't it? Language, religion, there are different churches as well. Religion is another part of the kaleidoscope of identity in Ukraine, because you've got the Russian Orthodox Church and you've got the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, and there are some Ukrainian people that follow the Russian Orthodox Church and the Patriarch that was loyal to Moscow, and I believe Zelensky outlawed that church. Albania is saying, you slap the child that now is grown and looking for you. It's normal. Okay, a bit of a analogy there. Apple Tree, without the swearing. I'm surprised that you don't know more about colonized countries. I mean the ones that England runs. Former Yugoslavia as well. All right, well, you quiz me, Appletree. No Google, no AI. Give me a question and let's see what I know and what I don't know. And now new countries born from Yugoslavia. England created them. Yeah, well, I was alluding to the fact that Kosovo was declared an independent country without the consent of the other countries around it. A bit like Somaliland being declared an independent country and recognised very recently. Swan is saying, very sad war, the Ukraine war. Young guys dying for nothing for more than 3 years. Disgusting war. With drones and close combats, hope this madness ends quick. Of course, we all pray for peace. Julian Assange said it, and I quote him so many times. They don't want to win the war. They just want endless war, because BlackRock and all these other conglomerates, is it a conglomerate? All the companies that have investments in weapons, in people hurting each other. Those people want the war to continue, because that's where they make their money. They want forever wars. Temuchu Khan saying, yes, but Ukrainians loved using Russian language the same way as some African nations love English. Yeah, I mean, look, it was all part of the Soviet Union. In the Soviet Union, Russian was the lingua franca, and many different ethnicities. Look, in Ukraine, you've got other you've got Russians, Ukrainians, you've got Tatars, you've got other ethnicities as well. And Bobby Vera saying, you said Zelensky banned a foreign religion, Orthodox, but kept Ukraine Orthodox. Did any other foreign religions get banned? From what I know, it was only the Moscow-aligned Orthodox Church in Ukraine that was outlawed because of its allegiance to the Patriarch in Moscow. Don't think other religion was touched upon. In the Soviet Union, all religion was banned, but it came back overnight after the collapse of the Iron Curtain, the Berlin Wall. When communism collapsed, the churches opened back up and the mosques opened back up, and people flooded back to their religion. So 100 years or 80 years of enforced atheism or official atheism couldn't get rid of religion. Mehdi Mumi is saying, peace everyone, and the same to you, Mehdi. Thank you very much. Albania, Kosovo was always Albania, but they was more Muslim than us because the wars happened there and we didn't really mix the politics there. They are a piece of Albania that was called a side like the beach. But Albania, were there not many Serbian people living there, also Orthodox Christian Slavic people? Do the Serbian people that come from that part of Kosovo not also have a right to call it their homeland? Over the years, people of different religions have lived in that part of the world. People have converted from one religion to another. Islam arrived with the Ottoman Empire to the Balkans. Christianity arrived when the Roman Empire embraced Christianity, Emperor Constantine. So these religions have come, and sometimes they've come and gone. They've changed the demographic, the land. But when you say only us, only we have the right to the land, that's when you have a problem. So I hope that doesn't upset you. Albania is saying, then there is North Mountains. than Kosovo fields. Okay. The only Muslims I saw in Ukraine were Turkish. Well, you've got the indigenous Tatar people. Crimea, which is now once again part of Russia, was originally Tatar people that lived there, who are a European, Turkic origin, Muslim, ethno-religious group. And when I was in the south of Ukraine, I went to a Tatar restaurant, and the food was very much similar to the Turkish cuisine. Appletree is saying your facts are wrong. Ukraine has Muslim population too. Well, I'm just mentioning about the Muslim population in Ukraine, and I didn't say they were Turkish. I said they were Turkic people. Although I don't know if you're disagreeing with me or disagreeing with someone in the comments. Albania is saying, if we speak with YouTube information, we had kingdom near Dagestan. Okay, Dagestan, a Muslim majority region in modern day Russia. Tem is a good one. Temujin Khan saying, it's disappeared. I've seen them on programs. There was someone mentioned something about Ireland, but I can't see it now. Oh no, yeah, Appletree is saying north of Ireland is Irish land. Fact. Well, the whole of Ireland is Irish land. The clue's in the name. Muhtar Turn is saying, how do you explain the reason why in the 21st century and with the current level of technology, countries are trying to dominate each other? Well, as Michael Jackson said, tell them that it's human nature. If we've always done it and everyone does it, it must be human nature. It must be that we're just that way inclined to team up into a tribe and try and dominate other people. But sometimes we can work together, and very often we do better when we work together. A lot of the Nordic countries, the cold countries, your Swedens, your Denmarks, they became very socialist in their economy, in their politics, because people that lived in the cold climate, the community would not survive unless they worked together, unless they helped each other, unless they gathered food in the summer to preserve it for the winter. So this philosophy, this ethos of helping each other became essential in these cold climates. But, it's going to help us everywhere to live like that. Squirrel Sniper, greetings beautiful souls across the pond, but under the same skies. Thank you very much, Squirrel Sniper. What a name. Appletree is saying that the North Ireland and Kosovo have a similar history. Well, let's hope we all have a similar future filled with peace and prosperity. Temun is saying, I suppose the North democratically identify as British. Well, when the partition of Ireland happened, those 6 counties that were carved out were chosen specifically so that the region would have a predominant group of people, supposedly the Protestants, who identify as British. But not all Protestants do identify as British. Many Protestants throughout history have been Irish nationalists. Some of the greatest Irish nationalists and Republicans, Robert Emmet, Wolfe Tone, Henry Flood, Henry Joy McCracken, have been Protestant people. But the idea was to retain an enclave in the north that would have a Protestant and loyal majority. But over the decades since partition, or the century now, that balance has shifted and is on the verge of reaching the tipping point, which you can see from the fact that Michelle O'Neill of Sinn Féin, the Republican Party, she is now the First Minister in the North, the first nationalist minister, won't be the last. Previously it would have been people from either the DUP or the Ulster Unionist Party. Skrill is saying, we stopped helping each other as we have been suppressed about our repeated history. Agree with that. Apple Tree, I always find it funny how people preach to others what we do, thinking people don't learn history. Yeah, his story. And Hassan Iqbal must be a good old Irish name. Come out, ye black and tans, come fight me like a man. Thank you very much, Hassan Iqbal. We'll have to call you Hassan Mikbal, to give you a bit of an Irish name. He might be from Ireland, I don't know. Hassan is actually an Irish surname, as well as an Arabic first name. So who knows? Books were burnt. This is from Skrill. Books were burnt for a reason. Have a think about why all books will be uploaded to Kindle. It starts fires. Kindle, yeah, that's right. Kindle and Tinder. What two very different but similarly named bits of technology. I'm French. This is Swan saying this. And Napoleon say that history in a succession of lies we all agree is a succession of lies we all agree upon. Je t'aime. I like that one there, Swan. And Napoleon, of course, was from Corsica, which is a part of France these days. But are there any people in Corsica that want to be separate? Don't they have their own dialect of French? Just like every corner of France, really. More books are banned in the UK today than I've heard than back then. Well, yeah, and more people in the UK get arrested for saying things online than in other autocratic countries that we are very critical of. Apple French is Apple is saying French, bravo. Merci beaucoup, pas de problème. Ici on parle français. I'll stop before I describe my family to you, or what I did on holiday. It's good to learn another language. It doesn't have to be French. Hassan Iqbal saying, where are you from? UK? Well, Mr. Iqbal, I live in the UK. I was born in the UK. And I don't know if I will die here, but I'm enjoying it for now. Yes, some want it's like 55 for independency and 45 state. Really? Corsica want to go independent. Everything's falling apart. It's like integration and then disintegration. Catalonia want to go independent. When I was in Barcelona a few years ago, I saw rude daubings, graffiti on the wall that said F Spain. They didn't want to be part of Spain. I didn't get as far as Crimea, but I got near Crimea in the Ukraine, and Crimea is no longer part of Ukraine. They voted to leave, apparently. But don't forget, Crimea was only part of Ukraine because it was handed over to Ukraine during the Soviet times when it was all part of the Soviet Union. So it has returned to being part of Russia. Some people don't like to mention that, but it is a fact. Bobby Vera saying Napoleon tomb looks better. I haven't seen Napoleon's tomb. Is it any good? Is it anything like the tomb of Lenin, where he's embalmed? Squirrel is saying, I am the sum of my past failures and my family's fears. That's quite poetic. What is it? Leonardo DiCaprio says, don't judge me on my successes, judge me on my failures. Because I've never succeeded. People get along with each other, governments fight. Great, important people called leaders wage war. This Hassan Akbal is a fully qualified Irishman by the looks of his lyrics. Britannia's hands with the big range in the Foggy Jew. Yeah, Conor McGregor used to come out to the octagon to that song, the Foggy Jew, which I believe is about the 1916 Easter Rising. And Bobby Ver is saying, in Canada, the French part want to break away. Yeah, Canada, it's the Quebec is the French bit, isn't it? Although I think there was also other French parts. Swan is saying the more problematic now in France is the French colony we have, with people totally abandoned, with no drinkable water and very bad electricity and roads, so they revolt. Temunjukan is saying African immigration to Europe is an interesting moment in human history. Well, you know, hasn't the whole of human history been one big, long immigration out of Africa? We all go back to mitochondrial Eve in East Africa, apparently. Apple Tree is saying, I don't think Trump likes you in Europe. Well, we can't all live our life worrying about what Donald Trump thinks. I can't do the impression tonight. I'm coughing too much. But I will give it a go another time. I do like my Donald Trump impressions. Temujin, but the vice versa moment wasn't. Well, you could... Okay. Germany is finished without low-cost energy from Russia. Yeah, well, don't worry, because we've all boycotted buying stuff from Russia and just decided to buy it from India, who already bought it from Russia instead. So I don't think the sanctions on Russia made any difference. But the sanctions are harming places like Iran, or people like the Iranian people in Iran that we like to claim we care so much about, but our country is sanctioning them. Back to the Stone Age. Ukraine was feeding most of Europe. That has gone too. Yeah, Ukraine was known as the bread basket of Russia, or the bread basket of whatever. They don't like to say of Russia, but the bread basket of that part of the world, because it gave us so much bread and grain, and even the flag of Ukraine, the blue at the top is the blue sky, the yellow is the corn underneath of the fertile land. Mehdi is saying, try Dutch. Try Dutch what? Dutch accent? I'm Dutch. Isn't that funny? That's a reference to Austin Powers, if you remember the villain. All right, folks, I really appreciate you chatting to me on a Saturday night. I know you've probably all got better things to be doing, but makes my day having a little chat with the fans, all 19 of you. It's a special number. This has been Lessons for Life, and we'll do it all again. Inshallah tomorrow night. We were here, we're gone. Laters.